Hey guys, so I wasn't sure if I wanted to really make this video or not, but I was like, what the heck, let's just do it so we can have a nice little end of, life for my Poisonous Concoction Pathfinder. Now, currently, my Peacock Pathfinder is level 89, so I think level 90, we get the 6th length or the 5th length or whatever you call it for the Peacock skill itself. I was thinking about getting it, but I was like, let's just move on to another character. But the real reason why I kind of wanted to move on to another character is, one, because I've been playing this character for quite a while, but also, two, I saw this clip.
What?
And yeah, it really put the writing on on the wall, and I was just like, you know what? I think this build's gonna get nerfed. And yeah, we do have a while before GG gets back in the office to nerf like half the skills in the game and half the systems in the game. But I was just like, well, let's just move on and try something else broken before they nerf that too. So yeah, that's why I ultimately ended up deciding not to take my Pathfinder to the super late game. Now, of course, we're doing tier 15 maps, we're doing tier 16 maps, right? And we're absolutely decimating those maps. But this Poisonous Concoction skill, the way that they buffed it, has made it extremely powerful. And I would have to say that Peacock is probably, at the moment, in my opinion, the least, like, you don't need to invest much money to it. And it is probably one of the strongest builds in the game, even with the least amount invested. Because all you really need is a Widow Hail and a good quiver, and I guess a +3 projectile skills on your amulet, and you're pretty much good to go. And you can be like Rutu, who is building it crit, which makes the damage go absolutely insane, or you could do it like me and try to actually scale the poisons and do it that way. But honestly, and I did mention this in the previous video as well, I personally think that the route that Rutu went was probably the higher damage ceiling route at the end of the day anyways. So I think that Poisonous Concoction really is a skill that you really can't mess up. Like, you can kind of build it any way you want, and just the sheer power of the skill itself will just carry it. I think I saw a comment on my TikTok the other day of somebody saying how they were running at like a 500% rarity Peacock and like absolutely decimating bosses with it still. So this skill really just does seem that powerful, which is why I do think that it might get hit with a little bit of a nerf hammer coming up soon. But let's go over the changes that I made since last video. So we're still going with mostly the same skill gems. Peacock with Scatter Shot, Chaos Infusion, Chaos Mastery, and Deadly Poison. Vine Arrow, we have Martial Tempo on it, and some people were talking about putting like a slow on it or like a increased AoE. I think the slow would be something that you can put here as well, and maybe like even Coaling Strike, that could be something that could work as well. But I was just too lazy and always forget to put it in there. So you can do that if you want, and also get more links onto it and add more things. But really, the main bread and butter of this kind of build, I'd say, is for the most part Poisonous Concoction and Contagion, really, surprisingly. Not really Vine Arrow. Vine Arrow's all right. I think it, boosts the amount of single target damage that you do by a good bit, because you could throw down the Vine Arrow, then you throw the Peacocks on top of it. But for the most part, Peacock really does kind of carry most of the damage anyways, because you just run around and just like spam the Peacocks at the boss and they'll just die. But when it comes to big AoE situations, as I mentioned in the last video, you really can't do much with Peacock and the proliferate that you get from even Herald of Plague, and combined with your Pathfinder Ascendancy passive. So when you get to like some breaches where the enemy mob density is just really big and really fast, even after the nerfs, you really just throw a contagion on like a monster, and you throw a Peacock on him, and then boom, just starts proliferating. So that really does take care of the majority of issues with clear in terms of like huge big mobs. But in reality, in Path of Exile 2, you never really get mob density that is that big outside of like breach, so you really can't just run around and throw peacocks at monsters and it'll just take care of most of the clear. This is just there in case there is those, you know, occasional breaches that you're running into, unless you're always running breach maps, then, you know, you're probably going to be using contagion quite a bit. But rate of arrows, this is again my preferred way to drop wither, but I know that people have been using Eye of Winter as a better way to drop wither, which I personally still right now I'd say that I just prefer rate of arrows because I don't have to change anything. But I think Eye of Winter probably is going to be a more consistent way to drop it because it just stacks a lot faster, and as a result gets you to 70 stacks really quick and makes it so that it lasts a long time. So if you wanted to go with probably the most efficient route for stacking wither, it's probably going to be Eye of Winter. And then, of course, for our auras running Wind Dancer, I have upgraded this to 20 quality to get 4 stages. And then also Ghost Dance. This is kind of a bread and butter for any class that is running evasion, basically, and has a little bit of energy shield. Despair, I have the Despair Gem with Heightened Curse and Persistence. You can do, I think it's called like Decay and Hex or something like that to add a little bit of damage over time if you did want to use like a Wither Totem, for example. That way you can drop Despair, and then you can put like Vine Arrow and then Peaconk on it, and then you get 3 stacks, and then, you know, it'll make the Wither Totem attack faster. That's another option that you can do. But these are just kind of very minimum, bare minimum setups that I have on these skills. And again, decimating T15, T16 maps, just absolute decimation. And then for my last aura, I have Herald of Plague, which honestly, again, I just do because it adds that little bit of extra radius to make it so that my poison spread a little bit further. Feel free to use it, feel free to not. You can also use Alchemist Boon, which probably is the better option if you're going up against a stronger boss, kind of like when I was going up against the Trial Master. I used Alchemist Boon, and that helped out a bit. And then also, I guess, moving on to the gear, I swapped my Flask over to a 0.2 charges per second. I think you can go up to 0.25 charges per second on their Flask. But I just found that even though the other Flask, like the more charges, was helping me, you know, I would think theoretically sustain the Flask better, and I was afraid that this Flask would make me run out of charges faster. Honestly, I've had 0 problems with running out of charges with this Flask, and honestly, the other one was probably more inconsistent because there were times when I was throwing peacocks at like 1-2 mobs, like individual mobs, to try to clear out the map, and then I would find myself running out of charges because I'd just be spamming it too often. This one I pretty much can spam my peacock as much as I want for the most part. I mean, not literally, but pretty much as much as I need to, and I would pretty much never go below, like, you know, I don't know what to say max charges, but I could never see the Flask itself going down. So for what it is, I think that the recharge per second is probably going to be your best bet when it comes to peacock. And then you can, again, combine it with Alchemist Boon if you want for any bosses that you think are a little bit more chunky that you might need to throw more peacocks at. Now, in terms of equipment, we're still running Widowhail with the same quiver that we're running before. I know that you can use bow skill damage on your quiver, and it makes your damage go up exponentially, which honestly, again, I think is a bug. So feel free to do it if you can find one that is not too expensive or within your budget, but probably try not to break the bank with it. And also, anyways, I think this skill is going to get nerfed soon anyways, but I mean, it'll still be usable. But yeah, this is still what I have right now, just maximizing on +2 proj and attack speed on mine. But feel free to get bow skill damage as well to just make your damage skyrocket. I have the +3 proj on this as well. That's pretty much all I went for this, and also int, because this build, as we mentioned before, is very intensive with the stats. So there's that. So int on the necklace, I also have the same rings, just resist and chaos damage. And then for the other armor stuff, pretty much the same, right? 35 boost speed boots, more life, just try to get life on everything. Attack speed and life on this. And then for life, right? It's just survivability. All your armor is just there for survivability, and your main damage just comes from your bow, your quiver, and your necklace, and everything else can just be for survivability. And that's basically the kind of the gist of this build. Oh yeah, before I forget, for gems, I want to go back. I did end up downgrading my vine arrow to lower levels, so that's why you can see vine arrow and rain of arrows as well are just pretty low level gems, because you don't need them to be at high level. Like, you just use them for the proliferate. This is for proliferate, right? For the activating with your peaconk, and then rain of arrows was just there for applying wither, so you really don't need them. Now, one other thing I was doing and experimenting with was having a weapon swap and making it so that rain of arrows always fired on my second one. So taking it like this, so that whenever I would throw out rain of arrows, it would swap and then be able to apply some shock stacks. That was something I was playing around with and was pretty good. But the one thing you do have to keep in mind is if you want to do this, you need to always use another skill with your that uses your main hand weapon. So I had vine arrow as that. So after I would do this, I would always vine arrow, and then I would go into peacocks. And this is, again, just for single target and bossing, right? So basically, it was kind of like I went in through this, and then went that, and then probably through a despair, and then started peacocking, right? So that's kind of what you would do for like anything that is big and single target. But yeah, that's the equipment. And then my passive tree mostly is still the same. We still haven't spec'd out of these because I haven't gotten a better helmet yet. And we were starting to make our way down to these ailment nodes. But for the most part, everything is pretty much the same as what it was on Mobalytics. We didn't really change anything. Though one thing we did change, and maybe we do end up specking out of this, I don't know, is I unspec'd this node right here because I thought maybe I needed the attack speed, even at the cost of damage, because of course damage is pretty dang high with this build. But at the end of the day, I unspec'd this, and having these nodes right here, this node right here, Falcon Technique, just made it really unnecessary to spec into the big node right here and reduce our damage. So I didn't, I spec'd out of that. And maybe what we do end up doing, and I also spec'd into this right here, increased damage with attacks, because Peaconk is an attack. But maybe what we do end up doing is we unspec off of these, so we do get down here faster and get those ailment nodes as well. And then that's kind of basically it, what I did with the tree. I also went and got my 4th ascendancy, and I just got the extra passive points, because really, I just don't think you need this. I really don't think you need this. I am sustaining flash charges perfectly fine on even like reduced flash charges gain, and it really is unnecessary. Peaconk is just that strong to be able to kill stuff without using that many flash charges. But also, again, with Peaconk only using 3 flash charges now, you pretty much never run out of flash charges. It is kind of just that good. Now, for jewels, I've been trying to do the magnitude of poisons and ailments on all the jewels. So that's, or just like having double things like proj damage, magnitude of poison. This one is magnitude of ailments. That's nothing special. I think this one was a double node as well, magnitude of poison and projectile damage. This one was magnitude of poisons and ailments, and also some attack speed, which is nice. So those are kind of like different ways that you can scale your build with your gems. Just try to get at least 2 things that will increase your damage on them. They're not super cheap, but I wouldn't say they're super expensive either. But yeah, that's kind of it for the passive tree in terms of changes. I didn't really change too much since last time. Again, the Mobalytics one is kind of the final one in my opinion for how you should have it. So that's that with this build. Honestly, like, again, I definitely don't have the most optimized tree, but really with Peaconk, I don't think that you really need any super optimized build to make it work. Like, Peaconk is just super powerful, And I think, again, as a result, it might get nerfed soon, but we'll see about that. But yeah, I am currently on to a different character. I'm currently playing a, kind of the flavor of the month, the, what is it called? The Infernalist, the Demon Form Infernalist, which I'll probably make another video about soon. But we're doing a fire build instead of what most people are playing, like with lightning and ice and stuff like that. But, I'll put a little teaser at the end of the video about what this build is looking like right now. But I think we're in for a pretty interesting build. So look forward to that video and look forward to seeing the build when I bring it to fruition. There's still a couple kinks that I'm working out with this build right now, especially now that I'm in endgame in maps. Things aren't working as well as they were during the campaign, but we'll work those out and make it work. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Again, I unfortunately dropped my Pathfinder before we really got super far. We didn't really attempt any like big bosses or pinnacle boss or anything like that. But T15, T16 maps, absolute breeze. So yeah, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more and look forward to my video about my Infernalist, be sure to hit the sub button because you won't want to miss it. But as always, I stream every single night on twitch.tv/MisoXshiru. So I'd love to see you guys there. But if not, hopefully I see y'all on the next video. All right, guys. Peace out.
Yes, yes. Resist all you like. How could manner?
Okay. All right.
I can't give up. I must save my people.
I must save my people. Stop monologuing, please. Stop monologuing, please.
I will succeed.
I will succeed.
Destruction of that water will be repaid 1,000-fold.
Okay.